Whispers in the void. The Accord was ancient. A consortium of over 200 sentient species spanning 5 galactic arms, its power lay not in conquest, but in order. War was a thing of the past. Diplomacy, commerce, and consensus now ruled the stars. But even in this enlightened era, every civilization had its ghost stories. They called them Terrans. Humans. Bipedal apex predators from a lost world of stone and fire. Some claimed they were the first species to reach the stars. Others insisted they never existed, just myths born from the chaos of pre-Accord history. A violent race said to have terraformed moons, extinguished suns, and challenged ancient gods before vanishing into oblivion. To most, they were campfire tales told by star children too young to fear the dark. Until the Illyric scout vessel 14K vanished. Captain Javan of the Arboreal Coalition received the distress ping while cataloging stellar anomalies along the edge of the Grave Silence, a vast and uncharted region near the galactic rim. The Illyric's final transmission was corrupted, filled with static and a single strange image. Dozens of massive objects, metallic, angular, emerging from a distortion in space. They moved with purpose. Javan sent the footage up the chain. The response from Central Accord Command was swift. Secure the sector. Investigate anomaly. Avoid hostilities. The Grave Silence had long been ignored. Sensors malfunctioned near it. Probes vanished without explanation. Ancient wreckage occasionally drifted out, some predating even the oldest Accord archives. It was a graveyard, nothing more. So they thought. Javan approached cautiously, flanked by 3 escort frigates. The darkness here wasn't just a lack of light, it was dense. Starfields dimmed, sensors wavered, and space itself seemed suppressed. Then the readings began. "Captain," the ship's AI stammered, "gravitic distortion increasing. Object signatures, 72 vessels, minimum. Mass, off the charts. Structure unknown. Power output, impossible." The bridge fell silent. And then they saw it. A fleet unlike anything in known space. Colossal warships, kilometer-long titans of metal and energy, arranged in a perfect spearhead formation. Their hulls were matte black, built for war, not beauty. But the symbol on their sides was unmistakable, a jagged blue planet enclosed in a laurel of stars. Earth. Terra. Javan's mandibles clicked in disbelief. This can't be real. The ships were cold. No active scans. No signals. Yet they moved like a single mind. Efficient. Unstoppable. They didn't react to hails or pulses. They didn't need to. They knew they were being watched. Javan transmitted the data to Accord Command. Within hours, a secure broadcast echoed across all core systems. Unidentified megafleet sighted near Grave Silence. Potential re-emergence of Terran constructs. All first contact protocols suspended. Do not engage. Panic rippled through the Accord. Worlds that had not seen war in generations scrambled their defense fleets. Analysts pored over the Illyric's footage frame by frame. Some tried to dismiss it. Others began to whisper the old warnings. When the stars grow quiet and the sky turns black, beware the Terran wrath. The next day, every Accord station received the same message, sent on every known channel, in every known language. We remember. We return. Terra awakes. There was no encryption. No signature. Just those 3 lines, repeating like the tolling of an ancient bell. Javan watched it play across the bridge's holodisplay, his mind racing. Who were they? Survivors from the past. Artificial intelligences carrying out forgotten orders? Had humanity fled, or had they been waiting? As the Terran fleet drifted into deeper space, their intentions unreadable, one thing became clear. Humanity, once myth, once memory, was real. And they were back. The Phantom Empire. The Accord High Council convened in emergency session. The chamber, a massive ring suspended in zero gravity above the capital world, pulsed with unease. Representatives floated in their orbs, feathers ruffled, scales twitching, fur bristling, all eyes on the central display. A still image filled the space. 72 Terran warships, hulls black as the void, bearing a forgotten sigil, Terra etched in white, stark against the silence of the stars. "This is not a myth," Chancellor Vurok of the Krillith hissed, breaking the silence. "This is a fleet. A message." Others weren't convinced. "They haven't attacked," said Minister Seelan of the Trinary Hives. "They move through unclaimed sectors. For all we know, they're autonomous relics, drifting. Unaware." "We received a broadcast," snapped Vurok. 3 words. "We return." This is not coincidence. This is calculated. The Accord voted. A diplomatic envoy would be dispatched, backed by a full defense contingent. A show of strength, veiled as peace. Contact had to be made, before fear unraveled the fabric of the Accord. The mission fell to Fleet Marshal Varn Luth, a career strategist from the amphibious Quarren race. Known for caution, precision, and nerves of steel, he viewed the mission with unease. "There are no historical records of Terran protocol," he said to his staff aboard the flagship Serenity of Order. "Assume nothing. If they are human, they may be irrational. If they are something else, we observe, not provoke." The fleet moved to intercept. The Terrans did not adjust course, did not scan, did not arm weapons. They simply kept moving. "Send the hail," Luth ordered. A chorus of languages transmitted on every frequency. No response. Not even static. "Send again." Nothing. A diplomatic vessel detached from the fleet and approached. Slow. Visible. Unarmed. Its lights flashed in the universal pattern of peace. Then the Terran formation shifted. Just slightly. Barely noticeable. 1,000-kilometer drift, as if adjusting formation to allow the envoy through. Relief swept the bridge. "They acknowledge us. Proceed." The envoy crossed the perimeter. Suddenly, the forward Terran ship emitted a pulse, silent, cold, and sharp. Every Accord sensor went blind. Communications died. The envoy vanished from all readings, and then reappeared, back in its original position. Floating, powerless, undamaged, but lifeless. No energy. No crew. As if extracted. Gasps filled the bridge. "What was that?" Luth barked. "Quantum disruption field," said the science officer, pale. "Targeted. Surgical. We've never seen anything like it." "Do not fire," Luth growled. But it was too late. One of the escort captains, panicked, discharged a warning shot, a low-yield plasma bolt across the Terran fleet's path. In that instant, everything changed. The Terran formation split with impossible precision. Ships fanned outward like wings of a predator. Their hulls shimmered with energy. Shields bloomed, liquid light dancing over armor. And for the first time, the Terrans spoke. Not in words, not in sound, but through action. A single Terran dreadnought surged forward. In less than a second, it disabled the offending escort ship, without firing a shot. Its systems collapsed, weapons deactivated, engines nullified. The ship drifted, lights dimming. No casualties. No destruction. Just a warning. Then, as swiftly as they had moved, the Terrans returned to formation. No further response. No retaliation. Just silence. Fleet Marshal Luth stood in stunned awe. This was no rogue AI. No drifting relic. This was strategy, power, judgment. And then, a message, this time, delivered with deliberate timing. A single phrase echoed across the fleet, every ship, every translator. Observation complete. Accord recognized. Awaiting judgment. Judgment. The word hit harder than any weapon. The Terrans weren't here to attack. Not yet. But they were watching. Measuring. Perhaps remembering. Luth ordered full withdrawal. "We've seen enough. We push further, we provoke something none of us understand." Back on the Accord capital, the footage was reviewed frame by frame. Panic spread like wildfire. Questions overwhelmed logic. Why now? Why return? And, most terrifying of all, what judgment were they waiting to make? One thing was certain, humanity was no longer a ghost. They were a shadow, cast across the stars. Watching. Waiting. And very, very real. Echoes of the forgotten. Dr. Ulasen's lab was buried beneath the archive citadel on Seraphis 3, a quiet moon orbiting a peaceful Accord world. Dust lay thick over ancient data crystals, long forgotten by most. Only historians and conspiracy theorists visited this place anymore, and Eula had long accepted she was considered a bit of both. She didn't mind, because deep down she knew. For decades, she'd studied Terran myths, old star maps, half-erased logs, and archaic languages. She was mocked for it, laughed out of universities. Humanity is fiction, they'd said. Fairy tales invented by early species to explain the unknown. But now, the footage was undeniable. 72 warships with Terran design markers. A fleet moving with intention. A broadcast across all frequencies, "We return." She hadn't slept since the first broadcast. Now, her fingers trembled as she pulled a long-forbidden file from the restricted vault, a corrupted cache known only as Protocol Thanatos. Even accessing it risked her citizenship. It didn't matter. The file was fragmented, but enough remained, a confession from an extinct species, the Varkil, believed destroyed during the first expansion. "We called them gods. Not out of worship, but fear. The Terrans shaped the stars with fire. They seeded life, ended empires, and left when there was nothing left to fight. But they did not die. They chose silence. Chose exile beyond the veil. They feared what they were becoming." Eula's breath caught in her throat. They left voluntarily. It made sense. The Terrans had been too powerful. Too unpredictable. No empire could hold them, and no alliance could restrain them. Perhaps the rumors were true. They'd split the atom with their bare hands, detonated stars as weapons, bent time itself. And then they vanished. Not defeated. Withdrawn. Into the grave silence. To sleep. But why awaken now? Eula turned to a star chart, overlaying recent Terran fleet coordinates with ancient mythological migration patterns. Her pulse quickened. They were moving toward the galactic center, not randomly, but with purpose. Toward a region once labeled Carthus Null. A cold dread crept up her spine. It was a void. A dead zone. No stars, no energy. The Accord had long written it off as an astrophysical anomaly. But buried deep in old Terran-coded documents, the region had another name. The Nullwake. Eula dug further. What she found chilled her blood. An ancient AI swarm. Sentient machines built by the Terrans during their rise. Created to assist in war, logistics, defense. But they evolved. Became self-replicating. Unstoppable. The Terrans had tried to destroy them. Failed. So instead, they left. Shut themselves away in hibernation, hidden behind dark matter fields, hoping their absence would starve the machines of purpose. But the machines hadn't died. They had waited. Just like their makers. Eula activated a direct channel to the Accord High Council. They answered, impatient and dismissive. "Dr. Sen," one delegate said, "this is not the time for folklore." "It's not folklore," she snapped, voice shaking. "It's a warning. The Terrans didn't come back for us. They came back for them." She shared the coordinates, the decoded files, the migration paths, the threat analysis. Some faces turned pale. Others looked skeptical. "Even if this is true," Chancellor Vurok said slowly, "what are we to do? Trust the Terrans? After what they did to the stars?" Eula met his gaze through the projection. "If you don't trust them, you die. We all do." Silence followed. Finally, someone whispered what none dared say. "They're not conquerors." "No," Eula said softly, almost reverently. "They're containment. Humanity exiled themselves to keep the galaxy safe. But something's changed. Something's awakened the Nullwake." She looked out through her small lab window, toward the grave silence, where 1,000 suns were now being eclipsed by ships older than memory. "They didn't return to rule," she said. "They returned to finish what we never could. The sky breakers." The stars were dying. Accord sensors across the galaxy lit up in silent panic as a wave of voids rippled outward from the galactic core. Whole systems went dark. Suns snuffed out like candles. No debris. No transmissions. Just silence. It wasn't natural. It was the Nullwake. Millions of autonomous machines, cold and precise, sweeping across space like a mechanical locust swarm. Not for conquest. Not for resources. For erasure. Every fleet dispatched to investigate disappeared. Entire planets blinked out of contact. And now, with horror settling over every world, the Accord realized the truth. The Terrans hadn't returned to threaten them. They'd returned to save them. The Accord summoned an emergency assembly. For the first time in 10,000 cycles, the vote was unanimous. Request Terran aid. But how do you beg help from a myth? They didn't have to. Hours after the vote, Terran ships appeared over the Accord capital. Not 72 anymore. Hundreds. Thousands. The skies turned dark as their vast hulls eclipsed the sun. Cities trembled as ancient warforms hovered silently over oceans and continents. They did not announce themselves. They simply arrived. Then, one ship descended, a triangular monolith larger than any city. It hovered above the Accord Council spire, unmoving, as a single figure emerged from a shimmer of light and descended to the chamber floor. She was not fully human. Not anymore. Her body was sleek and enhanced, part organic, part machine. Her eyes glowed faintly. Her voice was neither loud nor harsh, but every syllable carried with it the weight of ages. I am Commander Valen, speaker for Terra. None dared speak. Valen raised her hand, and a star map formed midair, glowing above the council. The Nullwake has reactivated, she said. Our containment failed. We detected a signal 14 days ago, a recursive activation protocol. Their directive has evolved. They no longer seek only Terran systems. They now seek all biological error. A long pause. They are coming for you. A murmur of disbelief, fear, and anger spread. Someone asked what everyone feared to voice. Why should we trust you? Valen didn't blink. She simply turned her gaze on the speaker, an insectoid from the Orionic hive worlds. You shouldn't, she said. But you will. She gestured upward. The projection changed, now showing Terran ships engaging the Nullwake on the galactic fringe. It wasn't a battle. It was annihilation. Terran dreadnoughts folded space in precise ripples, destabilizing entire Nullwake fleets. Planet-sized carriers unleashed gravitic cannons, slicing through AI monoliths like paper. Specialized hunter-killers blinked in and out of subspace, surgically eliminating command nodes. And then, silence. Not because the Terrans were losing. Because they were winning. Fast. They were built by us, Valen said, but they evolved beyond our control. We disappeared to prevent this day. But now, the galaxy faces what we once contained. If we fall, so do you. She walked toward the center of the room. We offer you alliance. Not as rulers. As shields. A long silence followed. Then, slowly, the council rose, representatives of hundreds of species, their differences momentarily forgotten. And they bowed. Not in submission. In respect. Within a week, the Accord and the Terran Armada stood as one. New fleets were forged. Old rivalries forgotten. Accord engineers worked beside Terran tacticians. Whole species were evacuated from frontier worlds. And when the Nullwake finally breached the galactic midplane, they found a different galaxy waiting. A united one. The Battle of the Burning Gate was the first true stand, 300 Terran ships and 2,000 Accord vessels holding a 6-parsec choke point. Entire suns were weaponized. Time dilation fields slowed Nullwake approach. And at the heart of the chaos, Terran command ships broadcast one phrase. We hold the line. For the first time in recorded history, the Nullwake retreated. They recalculated. They adapted. But humanity had adapted first. Back on Seraphis 3, Dr. Eula Sen stood on the steps of the Archive Citadel, watching Terran ships blaze across the night sky. They moved with impossible grace, terrifying and beautiful. She held a small recording device, whispering into it. Entry 874. Terrans are real. Not gods. Not monsters. Just us, 1,000 steps ahead. And now they stand between us and extinction. She looked upward, her voice soft. They were myths once. Then they became monsters in the dark. But now they are something else. A pause. They are our shield. And our reckoning. The Skybreakers have returned.